The Pokemon market always shifts, though there are certain Pokemon that always seem to stand the test of time, and that's why in this video I want to go over the 10 Pokemon that I believe are great to add to your collections due to their popularity, status, and general history within Pokemon. Now the thing is, a lot of Pokemon can be loved during a certain trend or during a certain period. We've seen this countless times before. But some Pokemon are just different. They've become like almost woven into the very fabric of the franchise. These are the ones that are so iconic and they're just so connected to Pokemon itself that the brand would feel empty without them. And the reason for that is because they have their status. Now it should be said that a lot of the selections in this video are going to be from Generation 1, and that's not because I'm biased to the first gen, it's more just me being realistic. If you look at a lot of Pokemon that have been successful from over the years, a lot of these are from Generation 1. Though to kick off the first on this list, it's probably best we get it out of the way early, though of course it's Pikachu. Now Pikachu has a chase card in nearly every era, and whether you're a fan of Pikachu or not, one thing is for certain, its cards become expensive. And that's obviously because it is the mascot of the franchise. I mean, think of Disney and Mickey Mouse. Though over the years, we've actually seen some huge Pikachu chase cards. I mean, the notable ones being the Mario Pikachu or the Poncho Pikachus, which get some insane prices. Now here's something to keep in mind as well. Pikachu is almost always the face of Pokemon when it comes to collaborations with other brands. I mean, you've had the Munch promos, or like I mentioned, the Mario and Luigi promos, to the Japanese stamp box, and even the latest Van Gogh Pikachu. Because of this, collectors usually like to keep Pikachu in their collections due to the huge legacy it has within Pokemon and pop culture in general. So for this reason, I mean, Pikachu is a standout and it's a great Pokemon to purchase for your collectibles. Now, the second one to speak about is Mewtwo. Now here's the thing with Mewtwo, okay? It's a bit of an interesting Pokemon for one reason. It actually goes in waves for popularity. At some points in history, Mewtwo has been one of the most popular Pokemon, and even when the Detective Pikachu movie released, there was a huge amount of search trends for Mewtwo. And of course, when we remember Mewtwo in the first movie as well, it's been a real iconic Pokemon for a long time. Not only that, but a lot of the gamers who, a lot of the people who got introduced to Pokemon in the video games, they all remember Mewtwo, back in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow when you caught it at the Cerulean Cave. It has a long history within the franchise. It's a really unique Pokemon, and of course, it gets a lot of love from fans. Because of this, and like I said, and you're going to see a lot of the others in the video as well, but Mewtwo has a position as a Pokemon that's become iconic, and there's been a lot of expensive Mewtwo cards throughout the eras, but when a Mewtwo card is released, at some point, collectors are all going to want to try get it in their collections because of course it has that long-standing history. Now, one thing you have to remember with Mewtwo as well is because Generation 1 and a lot of people who started with Generation 1, they have much more disposable income and they're much more connected to a lot of those earlier Pokemon. And because of that, Mewtwo always is a good Pokemon to add to your collection because of how many fans love it. Now, in the third spot, we have Charizard. Now, I know this is probably going to be no surprise to anyone who's watching, though I think everyone expects Charizard. Charizard is so iconic to the franchise, along if there is a new mechanic in the video games, Charizard is going to get it. But I mean, when we look at Charizard, like I said with the mechanics, when Mega Evolution released, of course, Charizard got 2 forms, or with Gigantamax, Charizard gets it. If we think of the most popular Pokemon of all time, it's pretty much a competition between Charizard and Pikachu. Obviously, Pikachu takes the top spot because it is the mascot of the franchise, but in some aspects, Charizard's a pretty close second if you think of it. I mean, if we look at the TCG history, nearly every era has a Charizard main chase card. When we look at base set and the earliest examples of the Pokemon TCG, Charizard got the highest prices, and of course that still stays like that today. Even though the whole Generation 1 starter line is amazing and they all have their own positions in the market, nothing really takes Charizard's position, and it's almost kind of guaranteed if a set releases and there is a top Charizard chase card, it's pretty much just well known that it will be very valuable. It's kind of interesting because when Obsidian Flames released, I do think the community was going through a bit of a Charizard fatigue because the Obsidian Flames Charizard didn't actually spike that much in price like a lot of people thought it would back in 2023. And I think the big reason for this is because we just came out from the whole 2022 with the Charizard UPC. We also had a Charizard chase in Brilliant Stars, and I think the community at that point was just like, you know what, we want something different. But of course, as time goes on, we can almost guarantee that Charizard will be a loved Pokemon. Now also, while speaking about these Pokemon, if you do love buying and selling Pokemon cards and products, that does bring me to today's video sponsor, which is Misprint. Now, Misprint is a US-based community-based platform where you can buy and sell Pokemon cards and sealed product at true community-driven prices. What makes it stand out so much is the listings come directly from the community, so price updates in the real time with the actual market. Now, Misprint has actually just launched selling singles, which has been an incredible addition to the website. You can see the huge amount of singles which are available across Misprint. Now, one of my favorite features of Misprint is the buy now and sell now system. You can actually set the exact price you're willing to pay for an item, and if the market ever hits that number, the transaction happens automatically and it takes the guesswork out of timing your purchases. Now, if you're at a card show or you want to get the prices for your PSA slabs, the Misprint app is a game changer. You can scan multiple PSA slabs at once and you instantly see the current market values. It's very useful when you're buying or trading on the spot. So if you want to give Misprint a go, definitely feel free to use my referral code to get $5 off your first purchase. A huge thanks to Misprint for supporting the channel. Now let's get back into the video. Now moving on to the next spot, it is Lucario. Now Lucario is a very iconic Pokemon. So Lucario is an interesting one on this list because we don't actually have some real huge Lucario chase cards. I mean, the biggest we have is the Japanese Lucario V-Star promo, but the reason why it makes this list is due to how successful of a Pokemon it is in terms of its representation for the franchise. I mean, we have Lucario in the Smash Bros series, and generally Pokemon really markets Lucario well, and of course Lucario does have a big fan demand as well. And when we think of Generation 4, if we really think of the mascot from Generation 4, it wasn't really Arceus or Dialga or Palkia, it was actually Lucario, and because of that, a lot of people who played the games when Lucario came around, especially Generation 4, they have very fond memories of it. So, you know, Lucario chase cards are always amazing to keep in your collection. Now, moving on to the 5th spot, it is all the evolutions, though we also have Umbreon, which is the top tier of the evolution list. Like I said with evolutions, there's obviously so many of them, and you know, there's also Eevee as well, but you know, when we think of them all as a whole, obviously Umbreon is in the top position. And I mean, if I was being really picky with this list, I'll just put Umbreon in this spot, but I think we can kind of use a blanket term for all the evolutions because, you know, when evolutions get released, there's just so much fan demand, so many people love them, and of course people want to add evolutions to their collections. When Evolving Skies released, that almost set a new standard for how much evolutions could be loved, and of course we had the Moonbreon iconic chase card. Then when Prismatic Evolutions got released, that was always going to be hyped because of course, you know, there's so many fans who love Eevee and all of its evolutions, and you know, Prismatic Evolutions is literally an evolution themed set, so they're always amazing cards to add to your collections. Now in the 6th spot, we have Mew. So Mew has a huge legacy, and one of the cool things about Mew, it's always been seen as a hidden Pokemon. When we think of Generation 1, it was literally the only unobtainable Pokemon through normal gameplay in the first video games, and that mystique and mystery has carried on throughout the years. Though, you know, Mew just has so many new cards coming out, and the Scarlet and Violet era really showed how powerful Mew is as a Pokemon in terms of desirability. And if I think of one Pokemon that's had such a good run in the Scarlet and Violet era, it would be Mew, literally. I mean, there's so many cards that people love of Mew, so for this reason, any kind of Mew card will always be desired in the long term because it has such high fan demand. Now, in the 7th spot, it is Lugia. Now, when we think of Generation 2, Lugia and Ho-Oh are the box legendaries, though even though these two were seen as equals, it seems that the fan demand moved more a little bit towards Lugia. Now Lugia has a lot of demand within the TCG. And it's really interesting because out of the two, my personal favorite is actually Ho-Oh by a long shot, but I definitely know the insane demand Lugia has with the fan base. And Lugia has a lot of history within Pokemon as well. Lugia also has had huge chase cards, from the Lugia from Aquapolis. You've also had the Neo Genesis First Edition and the recent Lugia V from Silver Tempest. And one Lugia chase card that's super unique is the Lugia EX from Plasma Storm. This is such a cool art style that's never really been revisited since it came out. All these things considered, Lugia is a real standout, and for this reason, any big Lugia chase is something I'm always on the lookout for in the long term. Now in the 8th position, it is Snorlax, which is one of the most beloved Pokemon of all time, and it actually has a few iconic cards throughout its history. I mean, the notable ones are the first edition from Jungle, along with Rocket Snorlax, and even back to 2021, the Golden Snorlax from Chilling Reign was actually one of the top chase cards from the Scarlet and Violet era, but of course it was short-lived. So even for modern sets, the 151 ETB promo, you know, the illustration rare, has become a very in-demand card, and the Pokemon Center stamped version is very sought after. For this reason, it's always amazing to add Snorlax to any collection. Now in the 9th spot, it is Rayquaza, literally the mascot of Generation 3, history, and it's had some big cards throughout the eras. Rayquaza also has been in a few sets where it's been the theme for its sets. Now, when we're looking at Evolving Skies, the VMAX and V cards are super iconic, and of course, its Gold Star is considered one of the biggest grails in all of Pokemon card history, and a lot of collectors know it's famous for these reasons. So it's actually an awesome Pokemon to add to any collection, especially for its longevity within the franchise. Now, moving on to the final spot, it is Gengar. So this should come as no surprise. In fact, a lot of collectors now say that we have something known as a Gengar tax. It's a very OG Generation 1 Pokemon, and it has a very long history within Pokemon as well. But when we look at iconic chase cards with Gengar, I mean, we have the tag team cards, which are both incredible artworks. We have the alternate art from Fusion Strike. And then, of course, when you look at Gengar's classic vintage library, it's probably got one of the coolest libraries for vintage cards out there. Gengar's had so many iconic cards throughout the years, and it's really made it become an awesome Pokemon to collect. Though with all these Pokemon, it probably does make you wonder about Pokemon and how much it changes. Though something you should actually ask is, what always stays the same when it comes to Pokemon collecting? I mean, we talk a lot about what changes, but what are the timeless rules? And in this video on screen right here, I actually speak about these 7 timeless rules of Pokemon investing. If you enjoyed this video, definitely feel free to click on the video on screen, and we'll speak more about that there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video.